So let's learn how to do process mapping. This is one of our tools under topic 6. So we have some basic steps to process mapping. So step 1, we need to define the process. Basically, ask why you're developing a process map. Is it to learn about the process? You want to evaluate how to make it better? Or is it just because maybe no one knows what's actually going on, so you want to map it out? You want to figure out why. So next, under step 2, you want to identify the trigger. What starts this process? Is it a customer walking in the door? Is it, the goods are moved from one station to the next, and that next station is where you want to evaluate? So what starts this? Step 3, identify the key activities. So you want to observe the process and how it really works. Don't try to sit behind a desk and try to write down the process. Actually go see the process in action, because you'll see things that people may forget that they do because they do it so often. If you go and see it, you're going to see things that the people won't necessarily realize. And if you're sitting behind a desk trying to think about it in your head, you're going to miss things. So go observe. Step 4, show the flow. So we need to connect these activities. So make them into a chart, a flow chart. So draw the lines. And we'll show you on the next slide what symbols to use and how to make this flow chart. And then step 5, we need to define the endpoint. So when we're going through this process map, we need to know where it ends. So if we don't know that, where do we stop? So think about if it starts when the customer comes in the door. Does it stop when the customer completes their order and pays for it? Or does it stop when the customer leaves the store? That's what you need to determine. So let's move on to some basic flowchart symbols. Now, every company is going to have some different symbols, but these are generally the ones that you'll see. So you're going to see a double arrow. That means arrival into the process. And then a single arrow is just the direction of flow. You'll usually see the single arrow moving from one symbol to the next. You'll see ovals. They'll show input and the start to the process, and they'll also be the ending of the process. You'll see a rectangle or a box that shows an activity. And then if you see a triangle, it usually indicates waiting. You might be waiting for another process to finish before moving on. A flowchart can branch off and you can have multiple routes to go through it. So, and then we have the diamond. The diamond is a decision point. Usually it's a yes or no. Sometimes you might have ranges, like if it's valued between 0 and 1, you go down this route. If it's anything above that, you go down this route. Or if it's, A, B, or C, you follow it. That's why they use the diamond, because of the points. So these are the basic flowchart symbols that you'll see. So when you're making a process map, this is all it is. It's nothing too complicated. The only complicated part is how detailed you want to get with your flowchart. And that way you can determine that by asking the question, why are you doing it? If you're doing it so engineers can get at it, well, maybe you want it more detailed. Is it just a high-level overview for the executives? You probably don't need to get so detailed. You could probably just list activities. But know your audience that is going to be using this process mapping. So next we're going to move on to the bottleneck analysis, which is another tool that we can use in our process design.